Dueling protests for and against the Ayatollah created chaos in Iran this weekend. A human rights group now claims 646 protesters have been killed that they know about. So the number of people out on the streets risking their lives, demanding their freedom, and being killed for it is likely much higher. The regime is going back to the oldest of old playbooks, blaming America, the evil empire, for the protests and threatening retaliation on U.S. troops. The Wall Street Journal reporting that the Speaker of the Iranian parliament said, in addition to hitting U.S. bases, Iran would strike Middle East shipping lanes, and Israel. President Trump has promised to strike Iran if they kill their protesters. But Trump says Iran wants to come to the table and make a deal.
Iran wants to negotiate this. We may meet with them. I mean, a meeting is being set up. But we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting.
Brigadier General John Teichert, former Assistant Deputy Undersecretary of the Air Force, Elliot Ackerman, former Marine Raider, CIA Special Activities Officer. We'll put aside for the second about whether you can negotiate with the Iranians, because when the Iranians' lips are moving, they're lying, but that's a different issue, nor have they ever kept a deal. But, General, start with you as the ranking officer here. Famous words of those on the ground: you can't occupy the ground from the air. Can you bomb Iran into regime change?
Leland, I think the best way that you use kinetic strikes, if that's the decision that the president makes, is to strike internal security sites that make it more difficult for the regime to clamp down on the protesters. And I actually think even the threat of U.S. strikes is causing the Ayatollah to have to honor that threat and divert security resources to external threats instead of internal threats. And I think those things, supporting the protesters against internal security, are the best way that you can do so that protest bubbles from the bottom up.
Elliot, how do we know whether this is actually real, what we're seeing, and different than things in the past?
Well, I think what we're seeing in terms of the size and the scope of these protests and the threat they pose to the Iranian regime is very real. I think what is more uncertain is, where does this lead? And there's obviously a whole variety of outcomes. First, that, the Ayatollahs managed to cling to power. Second, that this could throw Iran into a civil war akin to, what Syria just went through, or third, that the Ayatollahs topple, there's consensus around a follow-on regime and democracy blooms in Iran. I mean, we just don't know. I think the only thing we do know is it's risky.
Yeah, it's risky. I just would stay with you, Elliot, for a second from the strategic standpoint here, because over and over again, the American administrations, particularly that of Barack Obama and Joe Biden, turn their back on Iranians in the street demanding freedom and to be let out of the iron grip of the Ayatollah and the theocracy and everything else. And every time, America basically has done nothing because of the fear of the first two things, right? Of somehow, oh, this terrible thing could happen and that terrible thing could happen if the Ayatollah stays in power. Are we giving enough weight to how it may just be good that the Ayatollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guards are gone?
Yes. I mean, listen, it's, you got to play a smart hand. And I think we are already acting in support of these protesters. So we are already not, we're not doing anything. I mean, the president is actively talking about this. He is applying pressure against the regime. So we are involved at this point. But again, it's just about knowing when the right moment is to go all in with the resistance, or, when we need to just take a beat and see how the situation is going to develop. And this is, why the president of the United States gets paid the big bucks, is these are very tough decisions. And I think, to pretend that they're anything but that, would be foolish on our part. This is a tough area of the world.
Yeah, very tough area of the world. And as you point out, that's why people have George Washington's job. General, the idea, obviously, so often, and presidents of both parties are guilty of this, of wanting the quick victory, right? I mean, you can go back to George W. Bush, mission accomplished. You can think about, Barack Obama in Libya and others, that this is the panacea, and they forget the and then what happens next. The question, General, is this a time where using covert means, where the Israelis using the Mossad assets and the intelligence assets they had on the ground during the war back in June to help the resistance, to help ferment these protests, where it is better for the United States, even for Israel, not to be seen as overtly involved?
Leland, I think you're exactly right. That I think if we're going to do anything inside Iran, then making sure that it's covert or clandestine and non-attributable, make sure that there is no blowback to the United States or Israel, and it's very clear that we're doing things to support the protest without feeding information bullets to the Ayatollah to blame the United States or Israel. And so if we're going to do those kinetic activities, either us or Israel, then it's best to do so under the radar so that there's not that talking point coming back towards us that maybe the Ayatollah could use to consolidate power.
Elliot, to that point, though, right? America and Israel always gets blamed. They're already getting blamed by the Iranians. If we're going to get blamed, wouldn't it be better to use that for something?
Yeah, but I think what's tricky is if we weigh in on this on one side, we can undermine the credibility of that side. I mean, if we just look back into Iran's history, I mean, the reason they hate the United States is because in 1953, there was an election in Iran. A guy named Mossadegh won, and the U.S. undermined that election and installed the Shah. So, you know, we have a history of doing this in Iran. So I think it's very important, as the general was saying, to not show our hand, to be covert, because if we come out too actively supporting one side, we undermine their credibility potentially.
Yeah, that history of the United States, not just in Iran, but Libya and other countries, is a pesky thing. General, Elliot, thank you both very much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.